going on, guys? We're going to do a little live here. Zach Evanesh and ZachStrength.com, UndergroundStrengthCoach.com, UndergroundStrengthCert.com. I'm going to be talking about the 5x5 post that I put up the other day, or that I put up yesterday. And people were starting to ask questions about, some were good questions, some were, you could just kind of tell the comments were more like a little bit closed-minded. So a couple things. Number one, with my job now as the New Jersey State Director, all right, Henzo Gracie, for the National High School Strength Coaches Association for New Jersey, my job is to educate and equip and help any coach running the weight room, whether they're a qualified strength coach or not, help them do things that are safer, smarter, more effective, and overall better for the kids. And so I was speaking with an athlete recently, and he's doing workouts for his high school, and they did 5 sets of 10 front squats, which I would never do high reps like that on front squats. That's really tough on the body. Most kids are going to struggle in that position. And so I would have done something like 5 sets of 3, 5 sets of 2. All right. They also did 5 sets of 10 overhead press. Then they did 5 sets of something else, back squat. I can't remember what the reps were. What's up, knee? Henzo Gracie, what's up, my bro? And so the kid, the next day, his trap was all jacked up. He really couldn't get a good training session in, and it's happened with multiple kids from that high school weight room. And so I wanted to get this message of, with athletes, 5x5 is going to work great. Or you could basically do a 5-3-1 from Jim Wendler. Now, what's 5x5? I did a video on this, and I'm going to pull it up. Let's slide this over, guys. I did a pretty in-depth video on the origins of 5x5. So if you just go to my website and you type in 5x5, I'm going to flip this around. We can see a lot of places and opportunities to learn. So we've got 5x5 training plus bodyweight bodybuilding tips. We've got the Iron Roots podcast, which was actually episode 1. 5x5 strength training and the power of push-ups. Iron History with Richard Pop Soren, Jim Wendler. Talk a lot about 5x5 out here. So let's flip this around. Let's get into it. So what's one way to do 5x5? The way I like to do it, light set, medium set, and then the kid will usually go to 3 working sets of 5 reps. If the athlete is stronger, that athlete will need a third medium warm-up set. So let's use the squat, for example. If a kid could squat 315 for 5, I'm not going to have him go 135, 225, 315. Probably go 135, 185, 225, 275, 315. When I was younger, I used to take 45-pound jumps on each side as well. So I would go a plate, 2 plates, 3 plates, 4 plates, and then I'd start adding, change plates from there. People were asking about, why not do 1 set of 20? Well, you can do 1 set of 20. You certainly can. You probably can't do it often. I know Dr. Yesse's put out a program on 1 set of 20. But I'll be honest with you, Dr. Yesse's is super well-versed in, the Russian training programs. But how often is Dr. Yesse's with his boots on the ground coaching high school kids day in and day out? I started coaching high school kids in 1995, so I've seen the majority of what could go wrong, what goes correctly. So what could go wrong? First of all, when they squat 1x20, you've got to get kids to do low. They got to squat low every time, okay? Ollie Martin saying, when I teach kids at our school, I used to do 3x10. Now I don't do higher than 3 to 5 reps with them. So much better with their form. Now, I'm going to get into that. That's not necessarily wrong. Sometimes you're going to train kids who are so weak, but emotionally, this is the tough part, guys. Here's the art of coaching, and I'm going to digress a little bit and bring us back to 5x5. I train a kid who's so weak. He's like skin and bones. He's been with us for about, I don't want to say 2 years. He's got to be a year and a half now. He has made tremendous strides, but he cannot do a push-up still. Squatting with a dumbbell or kettlebells looks pretty good. Not mind-blowing, but looks pretty good. But he also struggles emotionally and with confidence. And you know what makes him feel confident and somewhat like part of the group is to put a bar on his back. Does it look great? No. Do I do 5 sets of 5 with him? Sometimes. Sometimes he just squats the bar and I tell him to do 5 sets of 10. And there's sometimes a place where you have to get away from, does it look perfect? Does it look beautiful? Let me tell you guys, that is a 1 in a 1,000 time I do that. But when I'm running a high school weight room, okay, Heather Barr saying I have a kid who squats deep. He thrives at 120. He works up to that doing 5x5. His body could tolerate, some cannot. He's 14. The majority cannot. But let me tell you, I believe in the 20 rep squat. And I believe in milk and steak and eggs. But this is something that requires just, you got to really be on top of these kids. Okay, Nate Harvey, good to see you here, buddy. And so I have utilized 1x20 in the summertime when I was training Rutgers wrestling. Okay, that was rare. They loved it. It was a gut check. It was tough. Those guys were extremely tough. You know, they were able to handle the discipline. Can I do it at my underground strength gym? Yes, with the small groups. But when I'm at the high school, outside of all this COVID stuff, the average group is 45 kids. Can we get them to do 1x20? Yeah, but let's talk about the majority of the time. You do these high reps with barbell lifts too often, it's going to degrade technique. It's not going to look good, and it's going to beat the crap out of their body. And now this is where you have to make connections. If you beat the crap out of their body, they are going to struggle coming back, especially if they're even, an intermediate. Forget about getting somewhat advanced in lifting. They're going to struggle to come back. They're going to be so sore. They won't do calisthenics the next day to get the blood flow. Kids are kids are kids. That's the bottom line. And so if I'm doing barbell lifts, does that mean I never squat for a set of 10? Last year when I started getting football players and wrestlers and athletes really going with technique, I did some linear periodization with 10 one week, 8 the next week, 6 on the third week. The 10 was very light. I think they did one, they added weight, and then their second, third, and fourth, fifth set, they stayed with it. I wanted to get that volume. But when too many barbell lifts are with high reps, you beat the crap out of kids. So the example is, I train kids. Every time they lift at this high school, they're becoming almost useless for 3 to 4 days afterwards. Their shoulders are jacked, their triceps are jacked, they can't move their legs, they don't want to come and train. That's not a good program. Jim Wendler, when I interviewed him, and you guys should listen to it before you get all worked up, he does one main lift a workout. So if he's squatting, he'll also have the kids do incline dumbbell bench and chest supported dumbbell row. Those dumbbell movements are for sets of 10, which I like. I'll do anywhere from 5 to 10. I don't always keep it at 10, but Jim keeps it at 10. He says it's easy to remember. It's a great method for building muscle, and they do get strong with those supplemental lifts at 10 reps. It also stops them from going too heavy. Now, what about adults? Guys, the answer to all these questions is it depends. Do I want to have kids in this externally rotated position with torque on the shoulders for years to come, doing sets of 10 and 8 on the back squat? on the front squat. No. What you want to do as a coach is preserve the body. You want to give them longevity. And what happens is with these kids that get beat to crap with these high reps on the barbell lifts is they don't want to compete in college. They don't want to continue lifting year round. Those kids will try to go to a commercial gym so they could train with their buddies to do some pump up arm work. Okay? Yesterday, we did clean and press variations. You could use a barbell, a strongman log, or kettlebells, 4 sets of 6. Usually on overhead work with a barbell, I'm in the 3 to 5 rep range, but they went lighter. I don't want any grinding reps overhead. The kettlebells are a strength endurance training tool. That stuff could be 6 to 10 reps. But you also have to know that when training boys, they don't have the best overhead mobility because of tight lats, tight pecs, tight upper back, and also being weak. So high reps overhead is going to cause some damage to them. Maybe not in the beginning, but you're always thinking with your training, what does this do 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 to 4 years from now? Can I get away with it now? Sure. But is that how you want to train kids? No. So if we're going to implement high reps, I'd rather go with dumbbells, kettlebells, calisthenics, band work. So if we're going to deadlift, we're probably trap bar deadlift. For the majority of the time, we're going to do 5s, 3s, and doubles. Heather Barr was saying, I was shocked how weak boys are upper body before puberty. Oh, yeah. And even when they're going through a growth spurt, they lose a tremendous amount of relative body strength. They get taller, they lose coordination, they gain weight. That makes their push-ups, squats, and running much harder. And so guess what those kids need? Light dumbbells, medicine balls, sleds, light kettlebells, and they need moderate weight, moderate reps. They almost need some bodybuilding work, but then you incorporate some supersets to get a little bit of conditioning. You have an athletic-based warm-up to build that coordination. You jump rope. We do basic, old school physical education type stuff. Everybody needs gymnastics as a kid. At the most basic level, we do gymnastics. So when we do warm-ups, we do we do cartwheels. If you look at my old underground strength gym videos from the original location in Edison, we are doing cartwheels, partner piggyback carries. We're doing sprints, all kinds of jumps. You guys can see all this stuff in 2 places. Number 1, undergroundstrengthcert.com. That's our certification. Or go to undergroundstrengthcoach.com. That's the academy. The warm-up is the time to build athleticism. Then when we start getting into the training, it's strength, intramuscular coordination. What does that simply mean in fancy words? You get a kid stronger. Rick, what's up, bro? You get a kid stronger, and now you start getting an athlete more coordinated. Weak muscles are going to struggle on coordination. A lot of coaches out there try to use all these fancy terms, and it's really silly. They're like, we're working on yada yada, energy system, da 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 da. Guess what we're doing there? We're getting an athlete in shape. We're building up, sustained anaerobic endurance. We're building up a big, as my buddy John Wellborn says, a big aerobic engine. That helps with recovery. That helps them handle the season. It helps them handle tough practices. A lot of people post stuff about how they're training for this competition or this wrestling match or this fight. What you're also doing is you're training the athlete for the rigors of the season. So, outside of COVID, wrestling season and high school sports seasons are something like 10 weeks. Then you have this kind of 2-week postseason competition period, maybe 3 weeks if they get to the highest levels of playoffs. With COVID in New Jersey, sports seasons have been cut down to a 2-week preseason, 2 weeks of practice, 6 weeks of competition with less practice than normal. Less competition than normal. Usually about a third less than normal. And so that being said, if an athlete is weak and out of shape and hasn't been training consistently, he or she will struggle with the season practicing. Here's the other one. If that athlete has been beat to crap with Navy SEAL workouts, high repetition back squat, high repetition front squat. He's going to break down. He or she will break down during the sports season. So you want to take these big lifts and you want to work them, but you don't want to kill them. Heather Barr asks, what do you tell these parents who want their kids doing speed and agility on top of practice, on top of strength work? This is becoming a trend, nothing but conditioning. How do they afford it? Well, what I do is everything. So our training starts with, activation, some calisthenics, empty bar front squats. You can see all that stuff in the certification. Then we move into some jump training. We do med ball throws. We do some short distance accelerations, very short distance. I don't have a lot of space. And then you'll also see us do some agility work. We'll do, the 5-10-5. We'll do the pro agility. We'll do some reaction stuff. You want to know what the best speed and agility is? When we go across the street from my gym and we do ultimate football, which is like ultimate frisbee. We use a rugby ball, or you play soccer, or you play pickup basketball. And so those are the true speed and agility sessions. So what you want to do, that's why I don't like really the word strength coach or strength and conditioning coach. It's so one and two-sided. And I got to cut out here in a minute, guys, because I'm going to coach athletes at 9. But you want to incorporate athletic play. And if you look at my buddy Jeremy Frisch, Lee Taft, they do this stuff tremendous. They do probably the best job with it. Those guys are tops. I'm losing my train of thought here. So we do everything. We don't just do strength. We don't just do speed. And so I tell parents, we don't have an incomplete program. Our program covers everything your kid needs, and that will change and evolve with time as your son goes from one sport to the next, from in-season to off-season, from preseason to postseason, to the deep off-season, because immediate postseason is different training for a kid who's just finishing wrestling or football versus a kid who's in the summertime with no competition happening. And so, yes, undergroundstrengthcert.com, guys. That's where it's at, man. That is where it's at. And so, Rick, have a great weekend, buddy. Talk to you soon, hopefully. Rick Court works with sore necks, worked at the D1 level. And so I'm going to reiterate this before I shut it down. Those big lifts, you always walk away with a little bit in the tank, the ability to do a little bit more. Why? Because you want them to come back. You want consistency, and that's what helps them get strong. Every time I look at the strongest guys, since from being a kid to Craig Paps, what's up, bro? From being a kid to my adult life now, the strongest do not grind reps. They make it look clean and beautiful. So take care of the kids with longevity mindset. Go listen to my podcast with Jim Wendler. Go on my website and just type in 5x5. Listen to or watch the video podcast I did on Iron Roots 5x5 strength training. So go to my website, use the search button, go to undergroundstrengthcert.com. Send me a message if you have questions about the certification. Have a great weekend, everybody. Much love. I'm out of here.